I want to welcome you to activate your truth shield. And what we're going to be working with tonight is a series of techniques for you being in alignment with your truth. Now, there was an inquiry about what exactly is the truth and what exactly is the truth relative to somebody else. And we want to start with that because it's a really good place to start. Anytime you're talking about truth, you want to know what it is. Let's think of it this way. You are you, and that means that you are made of the stuff of the universe. You're made of universal substance. And what that means is that there's something that is real and something that's true, you could say, in the universe that's also in you. And so what we're dealing with tonight is you practicing being in alignment with that truth. And so this is why your truth and another person's truth and yet another person's truth might all be different. And that's why when you tune into your truth, it's going to feel absolutely right to you. But when somebody else tunes into their truth, it's going to feel right to them. Now, the more you are at peace with this, the easier it is for you to tune in and to notice what degree, if any, is there a convergence or a similarity between your truth and somebody else's. Now, the first exercise that we're going to play with this evening is perceiving your essence and perceiving it as something that is known to you on a sensory level. And the reason that sensory awareness of essence is so important is because most people know about their soul. They know that it's there, or maybe they perceive it as a presence. We want more precisely and more tangibly to know essence as something that is felt with as many senses as possible, ideally inside your body. We are going to try now a couple of different exercises, and some are going to be easier for you because you have a preference for certain modalities of perception, seeing, hearing, feeling. So whether you like to see or hear or feel, check into this. There's a light within you. Some people like to use light as their way of getting a sense of soul. So get a sense of light within you. And here's what I want you to start to notice. That light, think of it as a flame that's always there, but because it's you and because it's alive, it's always going to be responding to things that you're thinking about. It's going to be responding to people. It's going to be responding to everything. So start to notice, how does the light within you shift in subtle or dramatic ways when you think about different situations? And notice that the deeper you go into that light, there's a very deep essence of that light within you. It's always there, even though it's flickering and even though it's dynamic. There's a really deep part that doesn't respond so much to what's around you. And it's that really deep core of the self that you want to become familiar with. Because that's the part that when somebody's saying something or doing something or presenting something, that's the part that you can refer to. So you want to be able to refer to the part of you that knows that it knows that it knows. Now, some people are going to perceive soul as a felt vibration, either as warmth or as something that has more presence. It might feel light and bubbly, or it might feel heavy, and I'm not saying light and heavy meaning good and bad, whatever works for you in your sensory system. And so try this one now. The deep truth within you, the deep soul essence within you, as something that you can feel. Either it's light, or it's really solid, or a little bit of both. And remember, the deeper you go into it, the closer and the deeper, the more real you are able to touch the essence, the more real it is for you. And there's something that's so deep in there that no matter what somebody says or does, you have a way of going deep within and knowing something. And by the way, there was a concern expressed by some that this might be unfriendly, and we want to be really clear. When you are tuning into your essence, you are totally free to choose the method of presentation when you speak to people. So you can hold a space that verbally lets people have their way, in a sense, if you choose. The reason it's so stabilizing for you to go really deep into that essence and to feel that deep pulse of self there is that you know that you know that you know what you know there. Let us continue. I just want to check your aura and see, okay, that's integrating really nicely. What's coming up as an issue is really interesting. It's soul versus personality. Because I'm looking at your souls, looks really bright and solid, but then I'm looking at personality, and it's almost as if personality is quaking in its boots. It's quivering a bit and saying, this isn't easy for me because as a personality, I am supposed to agree with people, or I'm supposed, in many cases, personality thinks it's supposed to replicate other people. This is bound to create confusion for you and might even create confusion for other people. So this shows me that in order for you to activate your truth shield, we need more unity between the personality and the soul. We are going to create some exercises to do that right now. So let's tune in to the personality. I'm definitely a bit nervous about that. Okay, so envision, if you would, that your soul is warmly embracing the personality. Soul is warmly embracing the personality. Now, have the soul tell the personality, personality, let me, the soul, know the truth. Let me make decisions for you because I'm in charge of this. So say this to your personality. I, the soul, will help you. This is good. Now, the next thing showing up in the aura, the personality is going back and forth, and it's saying, well, do I believe you, the soul, or do I believe this other person? Okay, so embrace the personality and look at the personality in a deep, meaningful way and hold it, give it a hug, and say, personality, I, the soul, am here to help you. Listen to me. I, the soul, am here to help you. You listen to me. That's what you say to your personality. Very good. That is looking more solid, and that's addressing some of the questions that were brought up just before we started. And let's find out if there are any questions.
You said something like, is it the soul that wants, or the personality wants to replicate something? Is that
yes. An important point. Many personalities...
What do you mean by replicate?
Copying. Many personalities, especially in people who either have weak boundaries or are very psychic or sensitive, are unknowingly replicating or copying anybody who they're talking to. See, this is one of the reasons why it's challenging to know your truth, because if you're good at copying, if your boundary is that open, well, everybody believes what they believe, right?
Yeah.
So if you're copying somebody who strongly believes what they believe, then that can't be good for you. So this is why it's so important for you to have a chat every day if needed with your personality. And by the way, just to be clear, when I talk about soul, some people think of soul as higher self or your spiritual essence. And some people think of soul as just the part that has all the experiences over the many lifetimes. And to be really clear, the context in which we are talking about soul tonight, that's true self, higher spirit.
So the idea is to bring soul and personality closer so one does not have to have weak boundaries or...
Right.
Or
yes.
The fact about being very psychic, how do you deal with that then?
To be honest, it's an occupational hazard, and so I will share what I've learned, but I'm not pretending that I have some sort of a super shell all around me, which I surely don't. Mm-hmm. And this is what we're practicing tonight. To the extent that you can refer to your truth as a deep presence within, it actually becomes a habit, so that even when somebody is saying, you should listen to me, and they're projecting some stuff, you actually learn to move your reference point deep within. It's a shield that's beyond any external shield, because no matter what somebody says, you are listening to the voice of your soul. But here is the thing that is a challenge as I look at everybody tonight. If the personalities are not really under the auspices of the soul, then the personality is sort of like a child who's listening to adults talk, and adults are able to be more sophisticated than children, so they can fool children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want the personality to be so aware that the first voice it should listen to is spirit or soul. Even when somebody speaks, that naive part of the self is going to say, Mommy, what do you think? Mm-hmm. So it'll be kind of like that.
Okay.
My understanding is that you're referring to the soul and the personality as separate, and I'm kind of getting maybe resistance because I feel that a huge part of my personality is that self that listens or works to listen to what the soul or my spirit is saying.
Right.
But my question has to do with, I guess, the whole issue of separation, because I am finding that my personality projects one or two other personalities that act as guides or mediums between the voice of my soul and the voice of the guide or the personality.
Mm-hmm.
Or myself, my own personality. And then I have this other real confusion, not because I'm 9 months pregnant, but in conjunction with being 9 months pregnant, I've been really challenged as to hearing the soul of the child.
So what we're going to do is simplify it just by talking about a simple method that anybody can use to distinguish voices. Now, first of all, there's something deeper than a voice. There's something deeper than words, and that's the vibe of the soul. And that's why we were doing the exercise of soul or spirit as light and soul or spirit as a vibe or a feeling. It's the vibration that is and has always been there. It's always timelessly been there. Anytime there's an issue of, well, this voice or that voice, you're a little bit too much in the mind. And if you go for something that's pre-verbal, go for that really deep light and that really deep felt vibe. And that way you can get a sense of what does truth look like as a light and what does truth feel like as a deep vibration. And that way you can use that to mediate voices. So that's the recommendation. Go even deeper than the voice. Okay?
I had a question when I guess I understood that you were trying to feel it through sensory, but when I felt like I made that connection, it almost felt like I was very separate from my body, but in a good way. And then once the personality sort of contacted the soul part, it was like, well, I've been trying to talk to you forever. And so there's a little bit of disparity on why did it take so long between the personality and the soul. It's, well, more than the personality, obviously. But
anytime we have any kind of an issue where some part of the self is using a judgment of any kind about a process that you're doing, the way you step out of that is to step into the present time and just to announce in a sort of a bright and perky way, well, this is what we're doing now. So no matter what your personality or any parts of your mind are doing with, oh, that was then and boo-hoo and blah, 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 just say, well, isn't that interesting? And here's what we're doing now. And immediately bring the attention of the personality, the spirit, everything to present time and bring it into here's what we are doing now.
So, Joel, now I'm really existentially confused. Because when I go into that light, to the deepest place that I was able to access, then none of that other stuff matters.
You're going a little bit too deep into the light in a manner that you are leaving your body. And you are leaving the present time reference of the world of time when each moment counts.
I thought I was still aware, thinking of whatever the issue or problem was, but it ceases to become because the light is so empowering, or that sensation of the soul is so empowering that the victimhood or the issue is not an issue anymore.
It's true that it's not an issue, and there are some really positive elements in what you're doing by stepping so deep into light. What you can do so that you can address issues of concern in the world, in your world, are you can imagine that you're stepping deeper into light and then hold on to it, but step a little bit more towards the physical plane.
Okay.
This is something that becomes an issue, I believe, for many people present who naturally are mystically inclined. One of the reasons that issues of psychic self-defense come up are because we have so many people who are so sensitive because they've stepped at times so far into their light, but they've maybe left a little bit of their body grounding behind. So, just a gentle reminder, light is not the opposite of the body, and the physical plane is not the opposite of soul. If you need to, step deeper into the light, but if you also need to, step deeper into body. And when you realize that this is a continuum, it is a continuum between the higher self and the personality. It's a continuum between soul and body. And so you can keep on jockeying back and forth, find all the different points of convergence between body and soul, sometimes a little bit more towards body, sometimes a little bit more towards the soul.
I'm thinking about, I can visualize, and what I was feeling is that many of us, I can just speak of myself, I guess, I'm feeling sometimes it's difficult to sense the soul part of me within my body, like you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps it's because my mind, or I feel like the soul is outside of my body.
Ah, okay. This is a really important point.
So we can kind of clear that, thinking that soul can be inside our body, you know.
Okay. I really am glad that you brought this up, because this could be explaining in part why there are some challenges with bringing them together. Now, let's understand that your soul has a body, and that body of your soul is located exactly where your physical body is located. Now, the difference between soul and body, amongst other things, is that soul is on a higher frequency. So if you want to visualize this, and maybe visualizing is the way to do it, to really put it together, your soul is located exactly where your body is, but your soul is non-physical. On a personality level, many people present have a belief that in a location that is physical, soul cannot be. Okay. Now, I know that on a soul level, you know that that is silly, but on a personality level, we need to talk about this in words and with a visualization. So I'm going to suggest everybody right now tune into your physical body and say the words, this is the location of my physical body, and this is the location of my soul. This, pointing at your body and feeling your body. This is the location of my physical body, and this is the location of my soul. That is really nice. That is rewiring some brain synapses in a very beautiful way, very helpful way. Okay. And we have one more question, please.
And we were doing the last visualization, having our soul embrace our personality.
Mm-hmm.
I did pretty well with it, but then once we had done that for a few moments, my personality started shaking with that. And it mentioned in answer to another question that it's a continuum between soul and personality that really made me wonder, why is my personality having such a hard time being embraced by my soul if it's one and the same thing?
Okay. First of all, saying that something is a continuum means that it is a spectrum of vibrations. It's not exactly the same thing. It's different aspects of the oneness that is you, okay? And again, whenever a question comes up, I suspect from the critical mind that says, why should this be happening? Why should this be a problem? When mind is saying something like that, just tell it, well, hey, isn't it great that we can work on this right now? Simply briskly say that so that you can step from the critical state and so that you can bring, in this case, personality and soul together. Realize that the conscious voice, the conscious mind, the conscious self, also known interestingly as the heart and the conscious self and the mind can lead the soul and the personality and the body. So the part of you that's able to speak, that part, you can guide yourself. And when you realize that you can do that, it's really empowering. It frees you to take any two things within yourself and bring them into an understanding. So nothing to worry about. Just notice that there are all these different parts of the self, and as you come to know about them, realize that they will begin to work as part of the continuum, together, part of the continuum of you. Okay, now, to continue. Now, let's look at everybody's aura. Let's see how you're doing. This is going to address a number of questions. We are going to address issues of psychic self-defense, and we're going to combine with that, how do you do that in a friendly way? And admittedly, that sounds a little contradictory, but that's okay. There are no contradictions because when you put it together energetically, everybody benefits. First of all, I'm noticing that as we tune into soul as a concept or a symbol, there's a tendency to think of it perhaps not as creatively as you could. And what I mean by this, thinking more creatively about your soul, is your soul is made of energy and it's made of cosmic substance, so your soul can be any texture. And so let's start with that. Deep in your body, deep in the core of your soul, whether it's a light or a feeling or warmth or whatever it is, it could be really dense, like a shield. Or it could be really bouncy. It could be a bouncy texture like a trampoline. It could be dense like a shield. It could be moving and waving like the aurora borealis or like a rainbow. It could be all these things. Of course, it's not really any of these things. The soul is vastly infinite. But it could express itself in different ways. And I have a feeling as I tune into everybody's energy, there are some textures that you're simply not familiar with, textures of soul. So let's play with this right now. What if, deep within you, the part of you that's truly you, that knows your truth, what if it became somewhat denser texture? So just notice, and actually look out of your eyes and notice what happens when you are being you in your body and deep in your core. It's a really strong, dense texture. And you can think about anything or anyone and notice what happens when, relative to that thought or that person, you choose to be more strongly dense, more strongly woven together deep in your core. That's bringing up some interesting issues. Okay. We need an affirmation. there's something that is creating a slight disintegrated quality in the energy. Okay, no problem. Tune into your core, tune into your essence, make it strong and woven together, and affirm, I hold my ground in the face of anything. I hold my ground energetically in the face of anything. That is much better. That's interesting. Yeah, there was something in the soul experience that had forgotten that holding your ground, it doesn't mean making a fist. It can be weaving yourself together in your core more strongly. It's like having a stronger lattice work of the self. Now everybody looks strong. Okay. Now, get a sense that your deep soul in the core is weaving together really strong, but at the same time, there's a beautiful, friendly quality in your outer aura. And I think you can see where we're going with this. Notice how it's going to feel to people. You've got this really strong, woven together core, and your outer aura is friendly. It's light, bubbly, friendly. And just get a sense of that. Okay, in a number of cases, the personality is saying, well, do you want me to be strong and tough, or do you want me to acquiesce and be overly agreeable? We have a question here. How do you stay strong with people with whom you have strong karmic issues? Okay, let's look at that. Okay, let's see what's coming up here. Here's a sneaky one. This is sort of delving into issues of DNA programming, but we'll deal with it here as something that your soul needs to know. Okay, whenever there are issues with karmic ties, it's going to affect you a little bit more strongly, but this visualization will still train you to do something. What I see is needed here is visualization of strong core combined with words that you will say in the form of an affirmation. So here is how we are going to address that. You tune into your core, you weave it together, stronger than ever, and you say the words, I am permitted to hold my ground in the presence of da-da-da, whoever they are. I am permitted to hold my psychic ground in the presence of whomever. Let's see how you do with that. I am permitted to hold my ground in the presence of such and such person. Everybody is looking way brighter. Everybody looks stronger. Cores are looking radiant. And this is addressing quite a number of issues. This is good. And we have one more question, please.
I feel that there's a little resistance thinking that if we bring this soul, the energy, the core energy, thicker, tougher, I feel like being trapped or something that I'm resisting. I can visualize the core being the energy.
Let's talk about this. This is very important for building your truth shield, and it's really important for holding your own. There are false beliefs on the earth plane, and they are created to keep you so that you will be in a state that is easily controlled by group mind. So this is something that group mind, in a sense, does not want you to know. The physical plane, in actuality, is simply a level of consciousness, and the soul is a level of consciousness. So the idea that your soul somehow should not be as strong and stable as the physical body is not true. Your soul, in fact, when it's really focused, can be very stable, at least in its core. Now, it's not going to be completely stable because there's a lot of the soul that needs to stay free, in a sense, so that it can shift and do all kinds of things. But the more you tune into truth and the more it becomes real for you at a soul level, you will actually find that you can feel structures building that are stable as if your soul is becoming more physical. Now, this is something that most people do not believe is possible. And in a sense, group mind does not want you to be that stable in your soul, because it would prefer that you simply be like water and that you shift to the level of consciousness of everything around you in the group mind. So this is something that you need to choose to do. But it will really help you accomplish what we're going for this evening. That's why we're emphasizing stable. Now, to be clear, stable can also be peaceful and relaxed. Stable does not mean antagonistic. But if you don't have the flexibility within yourself to choose to make your soul denser and stronger, you will tend to be pushed around. You will tend to forget your truth. Think of it this way. If you were so soft that anybody could put their hand in you and leave a thumbprint in you, and if you just kept their thumbprint because your energy was so soft, that would be a metaphorical way of talking about somebody who takes on the energy of other people and never knows who they really are. But if you had a certain amount of internal resiliency and toughness, then if somebody tried to put a fingerprint on you, that fingerprint would bounce out of you because you would be holding your own truth. Okay? Now, let us see what is happening with your aura, and let's see what is needed right now. Okay. I want to bring up something that was mentioned just before we started. What do you do when somebody is projecting, for example, anger or simply a very adamant insistence that the person is right and their point of view is supposedly right and your point of view is supposedly wrong? And how do you address that? So to address that, I'm going to look at everybody's energy field. It's really interesting. I see that the chakras start to cave in. And I can actually hear the voice of the chakras saying, I don't remember who I am. So what that suggests is that what's happening when a person who is demanding or angry is projecting a blast of their intensity is that a part of the sensitive self forgets its identity. We are, therefore, going to start with this affirmation that's coming up. I want everybody to tune into their body, tune into your energy centers. Imagine that your energy centers are stronger and that they are spinning faster so that anything that is not you is releasing. And say the words, I am 100% me, even in your presence. I am 100% me, even in your presence. I am 100% me, even in your presence. Okay, this is looking better. There are some old patterns that are showing up for many people, subconscious level, and the very old pattern is saying, but I'm not even allowed to be me in your presence. Imagine that your soul is talking to your body. Your soul is talking to your body. And your soul is saying, you are 100% you in the presence of that person. You, body, are 100% you in the presence of that person. You, body, are 100% you in the presence of that person. This is nice. Nice shift. Okay. Let us see. You know, that brought up some really stale energy, all kinds of clogged, sticky stuff that cleared out. Okay, with any hands that you have free, lift the heavy stuff out of the room that you're in and release it in light or release it in the center of the planet. Release it out of your aura, release it out of your body, release it out of the room. Everything that does not belong there, release it out. That's good. Very nice. Okay. Still a lot to release. Yeah. As you release the energy, affirm these words. It's okay to release the past. It's okay to release the past. It is okay to release the past. Yeah. The reason for that one is that I could sense all these stale energies sticking around, and they were saying, but we've always been there. Well, it's okay to release that. Okay. Now, good. Okay, let's see if anybody has any questions at this point.
Earlier when you mentioned the heart, did you mean heart chakra or your physical heart?
That's a really profound question. It has no specific answer because heart embraces all of those. What I was hinting at, though, is that when we are talking about the conscious self that's speaking, that can be of the mind, or it can be of the heart, or it can even be of the guts, as in gut level speaking.
Also, I felt like when you were with the personality and the soul coming together, the first affirmation, the soul will help you, personality.
Mm-hmm.
I automatically wanted to just add I love you in there.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm really glad you brought that up. Whenever I say an affirmation or whenever anybody says an affirmation, it's a suggestion. It's not to be taken literally. So always amend it, always change the words, add words, delete words as needed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for mentioning the love aspect, because sometimes that's all the personality understands. And if you start with that, you can do wonders for the personality. So thank you. Okay, moving right along. Let us see how we can take this deeper. The media. Okay. Tune into your essence. Yeah. What I notice, the way the media is affecting the soul and the way the media is affecting the aura, it reminds me of hypnosis. And just get a sense that the media, which could be represented by movies or television or newspapers or websites, anything and any media of any kind, get a sense that when you look at it, you are free to scrutinize it. Now, you already know that that's true intellectually. You know that you are supposed to be scrutinizing things. But there's something, what is it? It seems to be the personality. Oh, it's the physical body. Okay, I see. The cellular intelligence of your physical body goes a little bit hypnotic around media. Probably not a good thing. Tune into your physical body and tell your physical body that the soul is lovingly protecting the body and helping the body scrutinize media. The soul is lovingly guiding and protecting the body so that it can scrutinize media. And you could envision scrutiny. What is that exactly? That means that when something from a website, something from a movie or a book, something from any source, from a TV, it comes to you through a buffer, or maybe it comes to you in slow motion. It doesn't just jump into you. And maybe it just bounces off. Maybe it doesn't need to jump in at all. So get a sense that your soul, as a light and as a feeling, it's able to weave together and it's able to know its own truth. And get a sense that that quality of deep, eternal truth that's always within you, weave it together so that that quality of truth, essence, is a little bit more stable. That quality of truth is a little bit more stable, a little bit more solid, as if it's sort of like the physicality of the body. The soul has a little bit more of the stability and physicality of the body. And so now the body is guided by this more stable soul, and the body knows that it can let media bounce off. It's amazing. there is so much heavy stuff clogging up the healing space. Lift it out of your body. Lift the heavy stuff out of the room, out of your aura. Release it in light. Release it in the planet. Let it go. Release all the heavy stuff and let it go. Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah. This is years of programming. Just release it out and let it go. And we do have a question on that. Yes, please.
So when we are working with this aspect in other people or clients?
Well, quite naturally, yes. We're talking about media right here, but media is an influence, and clients, friends, coworkers, family, they could be an influence.
My question is, though, would we use something like the meter or to gauge like how much they can take of this type of transformation when it comes to, I just feel like sometimes I'm held back from being able to weave in, maybe it's the clogging, maybe that's the thing that I need to get from that last portion, that the clogging exists, but it seems like that there's a level that certain people can integrate that divinity versus the sort of hypnosis.
And you're talking about yourself or clients or just in general?
I feel like I'm talking about clients right now.
Okay.
Like I don't really always know how to gauge how much they can handle, and I've had a number of times where I've just done too much or worked with them too aggressively.
When you're working with somebody, and this includes, by the way, working with yourself, so you're working either with yourself or with somebody, let's all try this right now. Just imagine, if you want to work on yourself, imagine yourself, and if you want to work with a family member or a friend, imagine that. Tune into the person's higher self, and gently, with your hand, bring the higher self a little bit closer to their body. And notice resistance, acceptance, and you'll get a sense. It's very much like, I'm getting a picture of if you were feeding a young child, and if they want something, they move their mouth towards it, and if they don't want something, they close their mouth and move it away. So get a sense, to what extent is this person embracing higher self, and to what extent are they resisting? And here's what you do to adjust. If there's resistance, slow the pace of what you're doing, and if there's resistance, lighten the energy that you're bringing in, or lighten the size of it, or the amount of it, or the density of it. Do anything to shift it so that you do not have that resistance. And that way you can always work mindfully, and you can always work gradually. Now this, of course, applies to when you're working on yourself, because spiritual awareness is done in a kind way. You could think of it as gentle but firm. But firm doesn't mean pushing. So it's always gradual, and it's always bit by bit. Okay. Moving right along. Okay, let's see. Any other issues? Here's an interesting one showing up in people's auras. This seems to concern people with whom you had arguments in the past, or people who projected energy at you in the past. So I guess those imprints are still present. And I believe the reason that's showing up is because we're getting some really good clearings, and so it's revealing the underlying patterns. Here is what we are going to do. Bring to mind anybody with whom in the past you had perhaps a different viewpoint, or you felt that they were trying to make you be a certain way. Make it easy on yourself. Put the image of that person at a safe distance. Okay. Yes. What I see, especially in the solar plexus area, there's a caving in of energy. And so to get your truth back, imagine that you are weaving your solar plexus together. And for those that need to know where the solar plexus is, it's part of the body just above the navel and just below the rib cage. That's the solar plexus. So you weave it together. Now, let's have the light and the presence of the higher self, the highest aspect of the soul. Let's put that in the solar plexus. Now, I'm not saying that it lives there all the time, because it actually lives everywhere. but we are right now becoming conscious that the eternal, true, real part of you is now shining forth from the solar plexus. And from that viewpoint, you are going to look at that person whom you had that disagreement with, and you're letting that person have their point of view, and you are holding strong to what you understand truth to be. Now it's interesting. Solar plexus is starting to unravel. Weave your soul together and say these words: I'm allowed to think what I think, and you are allowed to think what you think. I am allowed to think what I think, and you are allowed to think what you think. I am allowed to be me 100%. I am allowed to be me 100%. Okay. Now, let's find out if we have any questions that are coming up.
Let's say the other person is really have no problem having everything in their own way.
Right.
Her way. And so by stating that I can be true to myself and you can be true too, but it seems like there's no connection. It's like it's difficult in a family situation that, if we are so different, I'm just always be separate from you kind of thing. How do we go?
Here is the visualization. Let's practice this right now. This involves two things, and if you can unite these two things, you can start to do some healing in this department. The first thing is, no matter what the family members think or say or believe, you are choosing to hold strong to your core. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing, you are going to have a big, fluffy aura, and it's going to gently touch and embrace and massage the other family member. So we're going to practice this right now. And it's powerful because it unites two things that are often held as a contradiction. So the image and the vibe is strong core. And the strong core, to really make it strong, get a sense that it's not just you in this moment, it's the eternal you, the eternal spirit or soul of you. So eternal you is your core. And in the present moment, there is this friendly, dynamic aura. And just make it up. Just imagine it. Just pretend. It's okay to do that with your aura. You can just pretend that you have this big, enthusiastic, bright, and sparkly aura. It's okay to do that. Yes. Okay. Let's get a sense of how that looks. I am actually sensing amazement. There's something within everybody that says, I had no idea that was permitted. Again, because on the earth plane, group mind tends to think in stereotypes. And so we have the stereotypical characters, and we even see them in the media. We have one person plays the angry character, and somebody else is the innocent but kind of naive character. And somebody else is the intellectual who's stuck in their head, and somebody else is super emotional. You do not have to be any of these stereotypes. And so when you choose what you are going to feel, what you are going to be, you can access the part of you that's wise, the soul part. You can access the friendly part. And when you bring them together, it starts to be normal for you, and it becomes easier to do that. Okay, now let's see what we can do to wrap this up this evening. Group mind. I want to do a quick thing here. This will make tuning into your divine essence even easier. In the space above you, let's say a couple meters above you, maybe 5 or 6 feet above you, get a sense that you're reaching up there with a broom and sweeping everything. I sense that there's some kind of control of group mind that's glomming on. Just sweep that space 5 to 6 feet, a couple meters above your head. Sweep the group mind, mass consciousness, if you will, out of that space above your head. Just sweep it right out. And get a sense that your light, the light of the chakras above your head, that's supposed to be there, is now able to shine. And get a sense that it is pulsing, as if it had a heartbeat. The chakras above your head are pulsing, and they are reasserting their life essence. Their life essence shining with the light of the true you. That's good. Shining with the light of the true you. Excellent. Good. Now, okay, take your psychic broom again. Sweep the space below your feet. Get a sense that you're sweeping out old history and replacing it with the light of your truth, your true self. Oh, that's interesting. A number of people have a pattern in there that says you are not allowed to change your history. Okay. So let's have everybody, as you sweep the history from below your feet, and by the way, history is not only below your feet. I'm just happening right now to notice it there. Sweep it out and affirm, I choose my history. I choose my history. That works. Okay, one more thing. Tune into truth as a vibration that feels really nice. It's friendly. It's loving. It's lovable. You can hold it. You can enjoy it. Friendly, lovable truth. And we have a question here.
When you said about history, the first thing came to my resistance was it's like erasing my foundation.
Ah, okay. When you choose your history, you are not erasing your foundation. You are erasing those extraneous things that are no longer needed in your space as a reference. So anytime we talk about changing something, always understand that we are talking about changing appropriately.
Right, and then I realized that was my attachment.
Exactly so.
Yeah, because my foundation should be in my soul's essence.
Exactly so. And your soul can always make conscious choices about what does it want to refer to and what does it want to let go of. And with that, I want to thank everybody for participating in Activate Your Truth Shield. I have high hopes that with everything that you practiced and everything you shall continue to practice, you can learn to be in reality by shining a mirror outwards. That way, outer reality that comes in can bounce off of that mirror, and you only take in what's appropriate because you ever more each day become the living expression of the cosmic truth that is your essence. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Infinite blessings to you and yours. And the truth, as they say, will set you free. The truth will set you free. We are now going to be taking the mutes off so we can say goodbye and give blessings to each other.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you. Thanks, Joel. That's awesome.
Bye. Good work.
Thanks for your awesome presence.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Have a great week,
Yeah.
everybody.
Will do. Blessings to one and all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Joel. Good night.
Thanks.